MADiSUN, thanks for being here. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good. How are you? Thanks for having
Good,
me.
good. Absolutely. I've known you for a little while, and I wanted to have you on because I think you've had a really cool journey, and I wanted to talk about it. I like to ask everybody how they got started, like what their kind of the initial point that got them into EDM, and you specifically for DJing, like how you got into that. Would love to talk about it.
Yeah, for sure. So as far as EDM music, I remember it being in eighth grade and riding the school bus, and my friend on the school bus was like, "Yo, have you heard of Skrillex?" I was like, "No, I have not." And she had the little what are they called? The not the Beats, but the oh my gosh, I can't remember the little like fake plastic cheap
Oh
headphones
yeah, yeah, yeah. I know what
and
you
skull
mean.
candy, the skull
Yeah.
candy. Okay. She had the little skull candy headphones and she was like, listen to this, and it was Scary Monsters and Nice Sprites. And I was like, what is this? I'm scared, but this is also amazing, and I love this. So ever since then, I've just been super into dubstep, and then I eventually branched out and started listening to all types of EDM music. As far as my DJ career started, I knew I had wanted to start for a long time. I had known some people who were in the industry, and I had been to some shows, and um, I what was the pivotal moment for me was Imagine Music Festival in 2019.
Mm.
I saw Alice in Wonderland, who was my number one, like, I want to be her. I want to be her best friend. I want to work with her. She's a huge, huge inspiration for me and why I am where I am. And then I saw Louis the Child, and they did a little bit more like trappy, a little more like dubsteppy than their
Mm.
usual kind of melodic music that they normally put out. And I was like, this is it. Like this is what I'm meant to do. And then 2020 rolled around, and obviously things happened in the world, and I was on unemployment, and I was making good unemployment money, and I was like, now's the time. I have plenty of downtime. I have the money to buy a board and the equipment, and I started playing around in my bedroom. I actually had virtual DJ on my
Nice.
laptop downloaded.
Throwback.
Yeah, before I even had a board, I was kind of playing around with music, trying to mix it. All I was doing was just the crossfader back and forth.
Hmm.
So then I just started playing around for a while, and eventually it led to me meeting people in the scene, and playing my own shows.
That's awesome. I
Yeah.
love that. And like so Scary Monsters was pivotal for me too. I don't know what
Yeah.
it was. I think like
Yeah.
cuz I had heard like some Dead Mouse in the past and like some more chill kind of dance music, you know?
Yeah.
But then for whatever reason Scary Monsters was so like left field and crazy. I was like, "Okay,
Yes.
let me pay attention to this. Let me see like what's going on here." And then I just went
Yes.
down the rabbit hole and have played everything under the sun since then, and like I
Oh
love
yeah.
all kinds of dance music. So like, but
Exactly.
that was a turning point for me too. So I totally feel that.
Oh yeah.
Um, and then so you start DJing in your room, you kind of, you pick up how to, how transitions work, how like a good mix should sound, that kind of
Yeah.
thing. I'm sure you're listening to like other DJ sets and like going to
Oh,
shows at that time
absolutely.
too. What was the transition from like playing in your room to getting those first gigs that you played? And like, was it, um, did it feel super daunting? Or did it feel more like I'm supposed to be here, like kind of normal? You know what I mean?
It was definitely a bit of both. I
Mm,
remember because when I first started out, I was in a DJ duo,
mm,
and we started out, actually posting on TikTok. So we
nice.
posted a good bit on TikTok, and some of those videos went pretty viral.
Mm,
And so that kind of opened the door in a way that, you would kind of have to work a little bit harder to get those introductions and get that like namesake in the community. And I will say, like, it was scary because it's a double-edged sword of going viral before you're ready. And it was
mm,
like we didn't have not necessarily the skill, but we didn't have the experience and the practice. And so that was really, really daunting of being like, oh, all these people are seeing us, get hundreds of thousands of views on TikTok. Does that translate into a DJ set? And that
Right.
was what was daunting for me. It was like, okay, yeah, I posted a, Bring Me the Horizon dubstep mashup and it
Nice.
did really, really well. But am I able to translate that into an hour-long set at a venue? And also like transitioning from a small DDJ 400
Hmm.
to CDJs with a mixer and a club and not having, the visuals of the waveforms on top of each other, like,
Hmm.
my laptop shows with Record Box. So it was so scary at first, and I still like I don't have fancy equipment. I
Yeah.
still have my DDJ 400 that I practice on, and I'm still learning things. Every
Yeah.
single time that I go to a club and I touch the CDJs, I'm learning something new about them. I was actually playing a show a couple weeks ago, and the guy that's playing after me, his name's
Mm.
Automatic. He came up and
Shout out.
he goes, why are like, oh, you're so brave for using the blue waveforms. Like I have to use the like RGB. And I was like, I have that setting on my flash drive. I don't know why it's not. And I was like, I just went with it. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't have the time to fix it. And he goes,
Yeah.
oh, you just do this, and then you can set it to your flash drive settings. And I was like, I've been doing this for how long? And I didn't know that. So it's just like, constantly letting myself be vulnerable and
Hmm.
learn as I go and knowing that like I have the technical skills even if I don't know what every single knob and button does on the professional equipment. I
Hmm.
still have enough technical skill and have practiced enough of just simple DJing to know that like I got it. I might not be able to do any fancy tricks yet, but I still have so much time to learn.
Yeah, no, having that confidence in yourself is huge, especially
Yeah.
like stepping out, from your room to being in front of a crowd for the first time. That makes such a difference. Just being like, I can do this, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And like, what did it feel like when you are in front of that crowd for the first time? Like, because that's so different than like recording a set in your room or like just practicing, like because you can kind of you bounce the energy off of them, so you can know, you hear for the first time like, oh, they like this track, maybe this track didn't work how I anticipated, so maybe like, let's switch, pivot this way, like kind of reading a room for the first time. What
Yeah.
was that like?
Um, I'll be honest, I think the first time I was so scared and locked in to the CDJs that I barely looked up. Like I,
Yeah.
I was not really, and at that time I was every set was like just perfectly aligned and we practiced every transition because, I didn't have, like I said, that practice or that skill to
Hmm.
just on the fly wing it and know the equipment well enough there to do that. So, but I was able to read the room and go, okay, they liked more of this, and I applied it to like my next set.
Gotcha.
And then eventually, once I got comfortable enough of like, oh, I can do this on the fly, like,
Hmm.
then now I'll prep a few songs to start and then kind of read the room as I go. Um, and I have been doing, I had, as I'm sure that you know, because you do open format DJing,
Hmm.
I was playing at a bar near me for a couple of months, and that is a lot more of reading the room. I would say, like at a rave, people expect dance music and club
Right.
music, and you can kind of play around with it, but for the most part, people are happy if you're playing dubstep, house,
Hmm.
whatever. Like you kind of know what you're signing up for there. I find open format a little bit harder to know like where are we going with this? What is and something that hits one week could
Hmm.
completely flop the next week. Like,
For sure.
oh, everyone is loving this house remix of a Katy Perry song. Great, let me play more like that. Next week you go to play it and everyone's like, "What is this?" Like, you know? And so I find that the open format DJing has actually helped me hone in my dubstep and EDM track selection and room reading like so much better.
That's a really cool way to look at it, because like you are so right. Like if you're just playing at a bar, it varies from crowd to crowd. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Like it could be like more college kids or like, a little bit of an older crowd depending on the night, and you have to
Yep.
like definitely account for that because like you can't just play like a Katy Perry remix to like, older people that might not, vibe with it. They might want something a little bit like more of a deep cut kind of thing.
Yes.
So
Yes.
it totally varies. That being said, so okay, back in the day you were kind of you had your set. It was very like I'm playing this, and then
Yeah.
you kind of were able to like shift more into being a bit more freeform with it, going with the flow, kind of seeing where it takes you.
Yeah.
How do you prepare your sets now? Are you kind of just making a playlist of like things that you think will hit and then kind of going with the vibe of the crowd? Do you still kind of sketch it out like this is my first track, this is my last track? What's your process?
It's a little bit of all of that. I would
Hmm.
say that, I usually try and start with a certain vibe, especially with being a lot of the times an opener.
Hmm.
And I actually watched your episode with Angie Ray because I love
Oh,
her.
nice. She's great.
And she was talking about opening sets, and I agreed with a lot of what she was saying about not to like tone yourself down, but like also just be respectful. And
Hmm.
so a lot of times when I am like that first opener of the night, I'm not gonna start with a crazy track. I'm just not. As the room is filling and people are filing in, then yeah, we can build the energy. But I usually start with something that has kind of like a longer drawn out intro or is a little bit slower of a BPM or is not as in your face and loud. And then I just kind of, I kind of have like stepping stones of like, okay,
Hmm.
this is where I want the beginning of my set to be, and this is where I want to play this track in the middle, and then oh, I would love to throw some drum and bass into this set. Let me, like find a way, let me find a good song that would transition well into that. And then like, oh, this is what I want to play towards the end. And then that's where the fun is of like filling in all the gaps in between. And like you said, reading that room and seeing like if I play a drum and bass song out, how many people are vibing to it? Is
Hmm.
this the kind of feel that the room is feeling? Or if not, like how do I transition out of that? And I'm someone who I love to bring the audience on a journey. I love the ups and downs of a set. I don't think that a set should be all bangers the entire time. You should have moments where people are having an opportunity to chat a little bit more. People have an opportunity to go grab a drink at the bar or go to the bathroom or and just being respectful to the crowd as well of like I don't want you to feel like you're exhausted by the end of the first set. We have an entire night to go.
Right.
And being respectful to the artist that I'm opening up for as well, and being like, this is your show.
Hmm.
Let me wake them up a little bit. Let me get them excited, but let me not completely tire them out.
For sure. No, I think that's super like really important, especially a lot of new DJs might not know that. They might think like if you do get an opening slot, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to go as hard as possible. I'm going to show like the promoter or the headliner or whoever it is like, "Oh, this is what I can do," kind of
Yeah,
thing. And like, yeah, but you have to respect your role for the night because
yeah,
I said this with Angie too and like about DJing, it's not about us. It's about the crowd. You know what I mean?
exactly,
Like
exactly.
that's what it's all about. You're here to serve them, you know what I mean? And like make
Yes,
sure that they have a good night and like just respecting that is so important. And a lot of newer DJs they don't know that unless you like go through the experience, if that makes
yeah.
sense. Like there's a lot
I,
of go ahead.
yeah, I was gonna say, I think it's somewhat, like it's hard to find that balance, like she had said, of like I still want to showcase myself and be authentic
Mm-hmm.
and play my sound while also like setting up the night properly. And I've played everything from first opener when there was no one in the door to, I recently was direct support for Super Future. And, I did bring different expectations. And I think, but every set is my set. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
proud of it at the end of the day. I've never, I don't necessarily dumb down my sets or dull them. I just play different songs in my catalog that maybe don't have a spot in a direct support set that would have a really nice time to be showcased in an opening set.
For sure. No, and it's all important. Like I've found myself like I do a lot of closing sets, which I love because I can
Yeah.
just like bring that
Yeah.
energy, but then I leave it on a more like end of the night kind of vibe, like bring it down a bit, more
Yes.
chill, more like euphoric kind of vibe, like we had a
Love
good
that.
time. But also like an opening set gives me the opportunity to play songs that I wouldn't normally play. You know what I mean? So
Exactly.
that's an experience in itself where like you're able to kind of have, another side of you that you don't show very often if you don't get those
Exactly.
opportunities. Um, One cool thing, like as I've seen your journey and just watched you level up over the years, I've watched like your name go from like small font to bigger font to like support slot to like some
Yeah.
headlines. Like,
Yeah.
how do you talked a little bit about it, but like what's the difference between like an opening slot and like a headline slot? You know what I mean? Like for you as a DJ, in terms
Yeah.
of like preparing for it and like the music you pick, the vibe of the night. What would you
Yeah.
say?
So for me, for an opening slot, like I love doing research. I love
Mm,
deep diving. Whoever I'm opening for, I will go and I will watch sets of theirs, on YouTube, on SoundCloud, wherever it may be. And I try and, I don't want to exactly match the vibe. I don't want it to be like, oh, I'm opening up for Mary Drop-ins. Let me perform a Mary Drop-in set.
yeah.
It's not like that. It's more so like, you know, what kind of music would fit well with it? What kind of music would be a fun little surprise that they might not hear in a Mary Drop-in set that, would shake up the sound so it's not just and she plays a little everywhere, which I love,
Mm,
which is why I was happy to open for her. But there are some DJs where it's like, if they're playing strict 140 for most of it, it's like, let me drop a little drum and bass. Let me do a
yeah.
little UKG. Like, let me sprinkle in some fun stuff that maybe might not be touched through the rest of the night while still respecting that like ultimate vibe of the room. And then something like a headline slot, which is still weird to me that I get headline slots. But when I played the Flow State After Hours,
Hmm.
I didn't know when I got booked I would be a headliner. But that's where I just have fun, and you're booking me for me, and it's
Right.
my headline slot, so I'm just gonna play whatever I want to at that point. I'm playing
Hmm.
things that I've had on my USB that maybe I've never gotten a chance to shine because they might be a little too heavy or a little too crazy. Like I played a little bit of everything when I played my last headline slot and I loved it. And people were like, I loved the ebbs and flows of your set. I loved that you didn't just stick to one BPM or one genre. Like it was still cohesive, but it
Hmm.
was just like this is the kind of music I'm liking right now. This is what I'm enjoying, and it gives me because I've been working on producing my own stuff. It gives me an opportunity also to play out some whips and see how the crowd reacts to those.
Let's go. That's
Yeah.
huge. I love that. And
Yeah.
like for me, I also love playing all sorts of EDM just because like I feel like I don't know, it might just be me, but I feel like uh me as a brand as a DJ, like I kind of got pigeonholed into like he does a certain kind of sound,
Yeah.
and that's like the last thing I want to be known for. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So like for something that comes to mind, I closed for Oliver Heldens not too long ago, and he
Yeah.
does a lot of house in his
Mhm.
sets. But I was also doing research, and I saw at the end of his sets he was always ending with a drum and bass track. So I started my set with a drum and bass track and then kind of took it wherever I wanted to from there. But it
Yeah.
was like a nice flow from where he ended it off at. You know what I mean?
And
Um,
that's what's so important about doing your research about the artist to know like what is their typical set sound like and how can I play
mhm,
off of that.
for sure, for sure. But like I think it's really cool like being able to have that freedom to play whatever you want. Cause like I don't know about you, but like if I'm playing one style of music throughout the night, I get a little bored. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I'm like I love this, but I
Yeah.
just want to be able to add variety and just like sprinkle in some different sounds here and there. Like I don't know. That's just me.
100%. Well, and also because like, I don't have any music released right now and
Hmm.
that's, going to change this year. I do have plans to release, but right now like DJing is a completely different skill than producing and you are being like literally a music selector.
Hmm.
And so like a lot of times like I like finding that balance of like, okay, here's a remix of a popular song. And then here's a deep cut that has 1,500 plays on SoundCloud that you've probably never heard before,
Nice.
and finding that balance like having those ebbs and flows of like, okay, here's a moment where everyone can sing along and everyone's, joined in and excited. And then the next moment it's like, what is this? I've never heard this,
Yeah.
and finding that balance there.
No, I agree. I love playing. Like recently, I've been trying to find like songs that hit on like SoundCloud or like free downloads or whatever they are, but like
Yes.
relatively unknown artists. And
Yeah,
one, because it's like nobody knows this, but also you're able to give that artist a platform. And then like
exactly.
if my media guy gets like a video of it, I can post it and tag them and be like, "Yo, I played your song," and they're like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cool!" And it's just like
Yes.
it makes their day too. You know what I
Yes.
mean? Like I
Yes.
think that's so cool.
Yeah, and like I've gained, like I'll be following a DJ and then I play their track out and I always tag like if it's a story repost, if it's an actual post on my feed, like I'm always gonna tag exactly who the song is by, what the song is, like I always want to give flowers where they're due and give credit. And then like, they'll follow me back and then we
Hmm.
create, not like a friendship, but we have that like mutual respect for each other. And then like I had MADiSUN play, so I was playing out a lot of his
Nice.
tracks and posting it and he sent me some of his like IDs and he was like, "Thank you so much for playing out my music. Like, here's some IDs to play out." And it's like you don't have that connection. You don't just create that connection out of thin air. You have
For
to,
sure.
you know, like I said, give them their flowers. And then a lot of times they're like, "Hey, here's some more." So
Yep. It's like it's cultivating that connection and like
exactly.
community is so important too. Cause I feel like I don't know, with I've talked about this a little bit, but like with social media and like everybody being on Instagram now, like it seems like such a crazy big world. Like everybody's a DJ and all this stuff, but like it's really still like a small community in the
It is.
grand scheme of things. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it seems a lot bigger online, but like you go out to a show, I don't know, I know a lot of people when I go out that I don't
Yeah.
expect to see a lot of the time
Yeah.
too. So it's like a nice surprise when you run into somebody you know, and like it's just a reminder that like it's not as crazy or daunting as we think it is. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah, I actually so I just started going back to school.
Hmm.
And I go to ASU, which is Arizona State University. It's free through my job. So I was like, I'll just get a bachelor's degree. And in my English 102 class, because I'm still doing my core classes, we have an essay that we have to write where we have to talk about an issue in one of our communities and do research to figure out how to make it better. And I picked making venues safer and practicing harm reduction and things like
Nice.
that in the music scene in Atlanta. And out of all of the people who take classes on ASU, and out of, we have a small select group of people in that class that we have like discussion posts with.
Mm.
One girl was like, "Hey, I'm in the Atlanta EDM scene too. And I was thinking about doing that for my topic."
What are
And I
the
was like,
odds?
and I'm like, I need to figure out who this is, and we need to be friends because what do you mean? And so, like you said, like and I guarantee if I were to like find her on Instagram, I guarantee we have mutuals. I
Yeah.
guarantee there are people that I'm friends with that she's friends with, like because it's such a big world, but it's so small too.
Hmm. Especially like if you're talking about just Atlanta. You know what I mean?
Yes,
Like we have so many mutual friends like just from being in the same scene, you know what I mean?
exactly.
And it's crazy. And that kind of leads me to my next point. What do
Yeah.
you think about the Atlanta scene and like dance music in Atlanta?
Yeah. I mean, I've been in Atlanta since I was 13.
Mm,
And by Atlanta, I mean an hour northwest of Atlanta.
nice.
But like I perform and I'm a part of the Atlanta music scene. And I have always loved seeing live music in Atlanta. There is this type of energy that Atlanta brings that it's hard to like understand what we have until you leave Atlanta and you go somewhere else. You're like, "Oh, people aren't as hype. This isn't as," and not to say other places aren't hype. Like I went to Knoxville and they went crazy and
Hmm.
the energy there was amazing. But that's because they don't have a lot of those shows going on. So when they do, they're so excited. But
Right.
so, like I would go see, I was in eighth grade and I went to go see One Direction. And they were like,
Let's go.
Atlanta is the best. This is the best tour stop we've had all tour. This is the loudest. This is the best energy we've had. And I've been to so many shows where I've had artists say that to the crowd. And that energy is like so palpable when you like step
Hmm.
into that crowd and at these events, like you can just feel that like love for music and community. And that's why I've always loved it and been so excited to play music and do music in the Atlanta scene because there's just this energy behind all of it that it's hard to explain until you experience it. And like it's stupid to be like the ATL ho chant really like encapsulates that, but it really does because we're the only city that has a chant.
Yep,
Like we are
that's
the
true.
only city that's like you could go to Okeechobee Festival, you could go and people are still doing the ATL ho chant. If
Yeah.
like, you know, like if Zen Select is playing in Denver, she's
Yeah,
gonna get some people starting an ATL ho chant because she's from Atlanta. And like that just I love that about our community.
for sure. And like, I don't think saying Okeechobee ho rolls off the tongue as well
No.
either.
No, or like Chicago Ho, like,
Yeah.
you know, yeah. I mean, it works, but it's not the
Man,
same.
no, yeah. I totally hear where you're coming from with that. Like, I've been going to the Eastern a lot recently. I
Love the
love the
Eastern.
Eastern. But like so I saw Alley Cat from the balcony there,
Yeah,
and then I saw
yeah,
Levity recently. And I did night one of their two
yeah.
night stop in Atlanta, and I was on the in the pit. So
Hmm.
like different experience, but
Yeah,
like both times the crowd, everybody was so nice, so respectful. Everybody had like such great energy as well, and
yes.
like I don't know, it's one thing that I've seen too in Atlanta. Like all the shows I've played there, it's been so much fun, but everybody just has a like they're happy to be there. You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah,
good vibes, and I think from playing in other places that I've seen, some spots don't have that. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like I think we're very fortunate that we have that in our community.
I agree.
Um, as a DJ, do you think it's getting booked in Atlanta? I know that like some places can be very clicky depending on where you're at. I've seen
Yeah,
that where like, they book their friends on each lineup over and over again, which like
yeah.
that's a promoter thing, but like how have you found it, being in the scene for a while and getting these gigs throughout the city, some, bigger than others, different bookings, like opener slots, headline slots, a little bit of everything. How has it been, moving through the ranks and getting booked in Atlanta?
I think that, and this is going to happen anywhere in any local scene, that there are somewhat clicky people and
Hmm.
communities. And I can't necessarily judge them for it because if they find someone or something that works and they know it works, it's like, do you take the chance of opening up that slot to someone new and maybe train wrecking their set or
Yeah.
going too hard for an opener set or whatever? Or do you go with someone who you know and trust? And so I can kind of understand it. I don't necessarily fully agree with it, but I
Hmm.
do I do understand where they're coming from with that. And I have been very lucky to work with lots of different venues and lots of different companies and promoters. And, like I I would so much rather play at like five different venues than play five different times at one venue.
Hmm.
Now, mind you, if I could play at Terminal West every week, I would because Terminal West is like they have my heart. I love Zero Mile. They're the
Yep.
same people that run the Eastern, so it makes
Hmm.
sense. And it has a very similar vibe to both. If every show I could play would be at like something like Terminal West, I would love that. But like I love Aisle 5. I love like I did the Flow State afters and that was at
Hmm.
this warehouse and they did a warehouse afters really, really well because I'm sure you have played afters that are not run so well and there's like half of a functioning bathroom and
Yep.
things like that, but that's kind of you have to climb the ranks somehow. You have to you know. And they were trying. They were putting in efforts to make
Hmm.
it work. And so it's really just like one making those connections and even if it's not an in-person connection, it's an online connection and commenting and interacting with other people and doing it genuinely, not
Yeah.
doing it like so fire bro on like everyone's post, but like
Three
genuinely
fire emojis.
yeah, no, but like actually genuinely being interested and supporting other people. to make those connections online. And then also, like making those connections at venues. And it's always, for the most part, like it's always a homie that puts me on to most of the shows that I play. And always just like giving them that respect back. And it's about who is speaking your name in a room that you're not in. And then, like once you find out that like they were talking about you when you weren't there, like giving them the same courtesy and being like, actually, like my homie, and not just because they put you on, but because you actually really respect and like their music and what they do. Like, my friend Anthony, like we've
Hmm.
put each other on shows like 3 or 4 times now. And it's not because, oh, he's my buddy and he gets me shows. It's like, no, he throws down.
Yeah.
He's always on time. He's respectful. He plays a good opening set. Let me throw him. Like, he's a good option. And the
Yep.
same goes for like him with me. So it's making those connections as well.
I've done the same thing as I've gone along, like just giving other people opportunities that like,
Yes,
I can vouch for them. I know they're a good person. They do their job well. They haven't been able to play at this venue. Let me see what I can do. You know what I mean?
exactly.
And
Exactly.
again, like it's all about community and a rising tide lifts all ships. Like we're in this
Yes.
together. It's
Yes.
so important. Like it's a lot easier to do it with friends than to do it by yourself,
And
you
there's
know?
always room for everybody at the table. And that's the
Hmm.
thing is like, like I like what you just said. What did you say? A rising tide is what?
Lifts all ships.
Yeah, I
Yep.
love that because I totally believe in that. Is like if I'm going up, y'all are coming with me.
Yeah.
Like all of my friends, all the people that have supported me and I've supported them and I fuck with, like we're all going up.
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
what it's about. I mean,
Yeah.
that's the best way to do it. And quick side note, but what you said made me think of this. Like from all the venues that we have in Atlanta, I
Yeah.
feel like from an outsider perspective, a lot of people can think that like Atlanta is a very bass heavy scene, which it is. I mean, there's a lot
Yeah.
of dubstep here, but like there's so much variety too. Like you can go out to a house event, to a techno event, like all sorts of stuff too. So
Yeah.
like we have great venues, we have a great community, but there's also variety. Like depending on what you want to hear, like it's not just
Exactly.
going to be one thing, which is
Yeah.
great. I love
Yeah.
that. Side note.
Yeah.
um I talked to Angie about this a little bit too. I wanted to get your opinion being a woman in the music industry. I I can imagine there's a lot of struggles that you have to go through that men kind of have a what's the best way to put it? I always struggle talking about this, but like
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
there's you guys have hardships that we don't.
Yeah.
Maybe like men may be able to get other opportunities because a promoter might think less of somebody because oh, it's just a pretty girl, like
Yeah.
which is not the case, but it's
Yeah.
the reality a lot of the times.
Yeah.
Have you had any kind of difficult interactions with somebody or like anything that was off-putting that just I don't know. I just feel like it can be tough for
Yeah.
women out there.
Yeah. I almost feel like sometimes it was the opposite of like
Mm,
instead of not being booked because I was a woman, I was getting booked because they wanted a woman on the lineup. And they were
right.
just, and not that everyone is this way, but they're just trying to, be like, oh, we have our woman DJ, we have our
Mm-hmm.
person of color DJ, we have a queer DJ. Look at, and even if it's like kind of fake inclusion, it's still inclusion. So I'm not
Yeah.
mad at it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
even
yeah.
if they're just like, I'm just trying to check off these boxes to make sure we have enough include. Great. If
Mm-hmm.
you feel the pressure and the need to kind of like fake that, then nothing wrong with that at the end of the day. Like you're still including people.
Yeah.
I think there's been a lot of times that, I do get booked because I'm a woman and they want like that inclusivity. And then I go and I play my set, and then they're like, oh, like
Yeah.
we should have just booked her to book her, not to add a woman to the lineup.
Right.
And I think it's just like a lot of times respect might just be immediately given to men and it has to be earned by women. And it's like, I'm not gonna dress down. I'm gonna dress cute. I'm gonna wear a cute little skirt. I'm gonna wear my cute little boots. And then I'm gonna throw down. And it's like,
Yep.
I can look pretty and attractive on stage and still, you know, show off my DJ skills. And then you're gonna want to rebook me not because I'm, a woman, but because you liked my mixing skills.
Right. That's
And
a
that
great way to
happened.
put it.
Yeah.
Like it's like they're trying to hit like a diversity quota. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like and
Yeah.
it's like that's you I how can I word this? I appreciate them doing that. I don't
Yeah.
think it should be from a place of pressure, but I think
Yeah.
the pressure is good because it
Yeah.
shows them that they should be doing that
Yeah.
to begin with. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
And can I say, I'm gonna get in my mic really quick. Stop booking all female lineups. All female lineup, all female, it's Women's History Month, all female lineup.
Clip that.
Just book women. Sorry. Just like if you're throwing shows and 90% of them don't have a woman on that lineup and you're like, all women's lineup. I don't care. I don't care. And it's like
Right.
that for me. And there are times when it's great, right?
Hmm.
Like I love that Alley Cat puts on a lot of women on her lineup, but she doesn't ever make it like
A
that's not the
thing.
selling point.
Yeah.
It's just she has friends who are women who throw down and she wants to include them. And I love kind of like that way of doing it instead of like, let me cover my bases by throwing one event and including a bunch of women and then we're good.
I fully agree. Like
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of those like all girl raves, that kind of thing, and like it's so obvious that they're doing it because that's like they want to show like look, we're being inclusive.
Yes.
But it's like
It's like,
that's you're
no,
doing the opposite.
yeah, be ballsy and throw
Yeah.
me in between two dudes. Like, just do it. And like, it's funny sometimes too because I'm taller. I'm
Hmm.
5'10", and then if I wear any shoes with any height, I'm way taller. And there have been so many times that I have like gone up on stage after someone or a guy's coming up on stage after me and they're shorter than me. And I'm like, this is like when I was a little bit, which I mean, I still play all genres, but when I
Mm.
first started DJing, I was doing a little more like house and techno and stuff like that.
Hmm.
And when I was direct support for Darude, I had my platforms on and I was a little bit taller than him. And I was like, I promise I'm not trying to demasculate you. I promise. Like this is just me. So I
They got to
also
bring out a box for Darude to stand on after you.
yeah. Like the anti like the shack where you have
Yeah,
to
yeah.
when DJ Diesel plays and then they have to get like a box for everyone else. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
funny. Man, I mean, it's just one of those things. Like people, specifically promoters, need to be
Yeah.
doing this for the right reasons. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? Like I understand it's a business. I understand you're trying to sell tickets. I get wanting your event to look good and doing the right thing, but there shouldn't be that pressure. You should just
Yeah.
do it because you know it's the right thing.
Yeah. And
You know what I
also
mean?
like when you have kind of like an all female lineup, you might have skewed your audience a little bit more and
Mm,
it might seem like, oh, we really only want women in the crowd too. And it's like then these guys might not be going to these shows because they're like, oh, this is like a woman thing. I don't want to like invade
right.
or for whatever reasons they don't want to be there. And then it's like instead of just naturally discovering women DJs by them being like within the lineup on a normal night.
Right. I mean, it's just there's like I love this scene, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
the more that I like see the inner workings of it, there's so much that needs to be fixed and worked on and like
Yeah.
in all areas. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's
Yeah.
just it's one of those things, man.
Yeah.
But
But I
little
mean,
by little,
yeah, I think that it's important to always see where things can grow though and go, what can we improve on? What can we do better?
for
So,
sure.
if we start putting the pressure on them,
Who
they're gonna have to
knows?
change one way or another. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Exactly. You mentioned production a little bit. Let's talk
yeah,
about that. You're
yeah,
planning to put some music out. How's that been? How's transitioning from like DJing to starting to produce? I know you've kind of been at it for a little while now
yeah,
behind the scenes.
yeah.
How's that been going?
It's honestly really scary.
Mm-hmm.
And, like DJing came very naturally to me. I didn't really have to take any type of lessons. The only thing I really had to do a lot of research on or get help with was transitioning from a DDJ to CDJs.
Mm-hmm.
And, with production, I'm someone, unfortunately, that if I'm not immediately good at something, I'm like, I don't want to do that.
Mm.
I hate this. I don't want to do this. I
Yeah.
don't put in the effort. And I think that was just growing up as like in the gifted program as a kid. I was just expected to be like immediately good at everything.
Hmm.
And it's like, no, honey, like things take practice and time and
There's a
effort.
learning curve.
Yeah. And especially with, I got really lucky and pretty early on in my DJ career, I got really, really good opportunities. Like,
Mm.
I think I put a lot of pressure on myself because like I booked that deaf show
Hmm.
opening up for EPROM. And
Crazy set, by the way.
thank you, thank you. I put a lot of work into it. Thank you. And just like there was a lot of built-in pressure of like so many people have put tens of thousands of hours into their music thing, and they would like sell their soul for that opening slot, right? Like they would have done anything. They would kill for that spot, and I got that spot.
Hmm.
And it's that pressure of like people going to look me up because they don't know me and not seeing a song out and being like, why did she get that slot and not me?
Mm. Yeah.
And it's like one, because DJing and producing, like I said before, two different skills. And I've met lots of producers who were like, DJing didn't come naturally to me
Hmm.
and producing came naturally to them. And it's its own art form and its own skill. And so for a long, like, it really was that deaf set after that. And I had played like two whips out for that show, but I just got really, really in my head about it, where I was just like, the first song I release has to be perfect because I
Mm.
have all this momentum going. I have all these sets that I played that were, really important and pivotal moments that, like really set me up that I was like, oh my God, like what if I release a song and everyone's like, that's it.
Yeah.
She got to be, direct support for Super Future and that's what she releases.
Mm.
And that's why I did take a step back last year. I took like 9 months offline. I
Hmm.
wasn't on Instagram. I stopped playing shows for a bit. And I had a lot of things in my personal life I had to get sorted. I needed to get in a good job and things like that. But a lot of it was just like me taking a step back and going like, this is supposed to be fun.
Right.
This is supposed to be this started as a hobby. This started as something that I did to pass the time when I was on lockdown and I was just enjoying it and having fun and having my own little dance party in my room. And now, for some reason, I feel this immense pressure on my shoulders to be perfect and perform in a certain way. And so I took those 9 months away to be like, let's just have fun with it. Like,
Hmm.
let myself be vulnerable, let myself learn. And I think that it's also a fear of being a woman, too, of like, I want people to take me professionally. I want people
Hmm.
to take me seriously. And when I don't like have any music to kind of back that up that I've released, it feels like there's only a certain threshold of respect that I gain, which isn't true. But
Mm.
that was the pressure I was putting on myself. And
Yeah.
taking that time away from it and just working with some homies and playing around with Ableton and Serum and things like that, it really gave me the clarity that I needed, and I feel a lot less pressure about moving forward with it.
Where do you think that pressure was coming from? Was it just kind of like a self-induced kind of thing?
I think it was definitely self-induced, and then, and I try not to look at hate comments, and I don't
Mm.
necessarily get any myself, but like, I'll see a video of a girl DJing and there's people in
Mm.
the comments being like, "Oh, she's just pressing play and looking pretty, easy for her to get booked."
I've seen
And
that.
so then
Yeah.
I'm like, I have to be the woman DJ that has all the technical skills and is perfect and knows everything about Ableton and knows, and
Yeah.
it's that self pressure of like, well, I want to be up there like ripping and, like doing all these technical things where no one can ever say that about me. But
Hmm.
the problem is like when you're posting to social media, that is one little slice of an entire hour and a half long set where it's like, maybe that's their song and they're letting it ride out and they're enjoying it. And there's nothing wrong sometimes with just pressing play and enjoying the song. You don't
For
have to
sure.
be 100% technical and doing all, the most that you possibly can with the CDJs.
No, for sure. Like I've I post a lot on Instagram because
Yeah.
like I play most every weekend, so I try to like just post as much as possible about it.
Yeah.
And I've had some comments along those lines, and I'm like, dude, you're seeing a 15-second clip from a 4 hour set, or like,
Yes.
you know what I mean?
Yes.
Like,
Yep.
I posted this because I liked the song or like the crowd was engaging well to it, whatever it might be. And like they weren't there. You know what I mean? So like I do the same
Exactly.
thing. I try not to read those comments because it's not helping anything. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like you were there,
And
you know,
yeah.
go ahead.
And what are they doing?
Right. Right.
What are they doing?
Yeah.
So it's like, a lot of
It's
times it's from an anonymous account too. So,
yep, yep. And it's that's the thing. They do that because then you can't see who it is. You know what I
yeah,
mean? They're like just leaving hate because they have something going on in their personal life, which sucks, but like, projecting that on somebody else is not the right way to do it.
exactly.
Um, man, yeah, that's a whole other rabbit hole that we could go down, but
Yeah.
I'll spare you.
Yeah.
Um, man, so those getting into production now, what vibe are you aiming for? Because I know you have played a lot of sets, but
Yeah.
like this music you're working on, those whips you played, like
Yeah.
what can we expect?
I mean, I think that in my heart of hearts, I'm a dubstep head. I
Let's
I
go.
love dubstep. I love deep dubstep, 140 UK, like all of that kind of subgenre, left experimental, that type. I think that that's kind of the core of me and my sound. But
Hmm.
I think that there's still so many things that I am trying to branch out and have fun with. And I've even had the idea, of like I would love to eventually, because you talked about trying to be like, you were like pigeonholed and people
Hmm.
were trying to pigeonhole you. Is like I never really want to be that person. And that was a lot of advice that I got at first of like, well, you need to pick what kind of genre you're doing and blah
Mm.
blah blah blah. And I'm like, it's 2026. People love variety. People have been loving multi-genred sets where it's like, if John Summit can rip dubstep in the middle of his house set, like, why can't I?
Right.
And so, like, I would love to eventually do, like, release a song and then be like, UKG VIP, where it's like, I take my own song and I rework it into a different genre. And I've had this idea for a while just because I do play and enjoy so many different genres
Hmm.
that I think that it's never going to be just one sound or one BPM or one genre, but it definitely is going to be cohesive to all other works that I'm releasing.
I love that idea of like making a VIP of your own song in a
Yeah.
different like style. That's
Yeah.
such a good idea because then
Yeah.
it's still like all you know what I mean? And
Exactly.
and like having that variety is so important, especially when you are trying to do multiple genres. I love how, EDM is going in that direction where like you used to hear like a house set that's all house the whole time, but then
Hmm.
like now people are like you said dropping dubstep, dropping like these other genres kind of sprinkling it in. I love that. I don't know if it's like again people getting bored. I don't know if it's like TikTok brain that we need like, different,
Yeah.
stimuli. I don't
Yeah.
know what it is,
Exactly.
but I really enjoy it. I think it's a
Yeah.
really cool progression. Um, Man, that's awesome. I'm excited to hear some of the stuff. I know that depth set was great, and like I'm gonna have to go back and listen to see if I can spot those whips.
You probably can. I think
Yeah.
I mean, as of course you have your own ear for your own music. I go back
Mm.
and I'm like, oh, compared, like I played Stash.
Hmm.
He's probably like my favorite local producer from Atlanta who's now no longer local.
He's huge.
He is insane with sound design and production, and I played one of his IDs like right
Mm.
before mine, and I was like, why did I do that? Why did I
Just
do that? Like I should have like played a simpler, a more basic song right before my whip that I had just started working on out. And I think that's another thing too is like knowing when to play my whips out and stuff.
mm.
And like the track that I'm like really proud of that I probably will release first. Like I played that when I played for Mary Drop-Ins. That was like
Mm.
one of the last songs that I played because I wanted to see the crowd reaction when like most people were there.
Yeah,
So,
that makes sense. That's a
yeah.
good way to look at it too. Like wait
Yeah.
for the end where like it's really filled up and then be like, "All
Yeah.
right, let's see how this goes."
Yeah, and the whips that you're like maybe not so confident on and just want to hear them on a speaker to see what they sound like, those can go at the beginning of the
Yes,
set.
save those
Yeah,
for the start.
exactly, exactly.
um, ooh, how about this? Having DJ'd first and now getting into production,
Yeah.
do you think DJing for so long influenced how you produce?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, like there are times when I'll, you know, be playing, I'll have like a song doubled where I have like two songs going at the same time. And that kind of inspires me where I'm like, ooh, the way that this sound goes with this sound and it layers that the original track didn't have. And not that there's anything wrong with the original track and how it was released, but that kind of inspires me of like, you know, it's filling the track in ways that I might have missed when I'm working on my own music, and just taking influence from things like that and being like, okay, like, you know, this build up because I had two songs building up at the same time as a transition, you know, like this build up, it like sounds really good with more snare drum or
Hmm.
whatever, you know, where it's like the original track didn't have that. And then I'm like, oh, if I like the sound of that, I can just apply that to what I'm working on.
Right. There's a lot like that we don't like stuff in the background of certain songs that you
Yes.
don't realize is there
Yeah.
until you listen to it without it, if that makes
Yes.
sense. And that's like
Yes.
one thing in production, like if you mute a section and you're like, oh, this feels empty now. It's like, yeah, well, all that's in the background. You might not listen to it when you're listening to it on like a club speaker or whatever it
Yeah.
is, but like when you're producing and you're like getting into the weeds with it, like it makes a big difference. But also
Yeah.
like you mentioned, like wanting to be perfect and like, have all your tracks sound like exactly how you want, I feel is kind of like it's not realistic in a sense
No.
because um music is never perfect. It's never
Hmm.
done. I like
Hmm.
to say because I mentor some producers and I'm
Yeah.
like, you can spend all year working on one track but then you're never going to put it out because it's never
Yep.
done. You know what I mean? You're just
Yep.
going to keep tweaking it. But like once you start producing, if you give yourself like either a deadline or you're like, okay, this track is done now, move on to the next thing, and you can just consistently start releasing stuff,
Yeah.
even if it's not perfect, because it's never going to be perfect, it's super important to like just let stuff be what it is. Like,
Yeah.
this is the identity of this track. This is what it is. I'm moving on to this next one now.
Yes. And my friend Nicole's in Selecta.
Hmm.
We hung out one time and she was, you know, kind of giving me similar advice. And she was like, if I could go back, I would have released more of the things I was working on early on so that people could see the growth and, you know, the journey that I was on with it. And now she has that whole EP about like the mind killer and things like that,
Yep.
about like taming your own insecurities and just like letting things be. And I really, really resonated with that. And that helped a lot too, of being like, yeah, it is genuinely just me holding myself back. And it's the expectations that I have of myself. And, you know, like you see producers all the time being like, I worked on this track for 20 hours. And then version two was the best version of it, not version 387, you know? And it's like, if you spend too much time perfecting it, then you're going to get, like you said, stuck in that loop of like, well, it's not perfect. I can't release it. And a big thing of advice that a lot of producers have given me is just work on as many tracks as you can. Don't perfect one. Perfect, like, you know, just sitting down, working on a track, finishing it, and then doing that again next time. Don't sit and try and perfect one track. Just get in that habit of like having fun with it and making it like a daily ritual.
For sure. When we met years ago, funny story, I was dropping garbage in my sets, like whips that were like never released. But I
Yeah,
was like, let me see how this sounds. Oh, that sounds bad. But like
yeah,
at least now I know it sounds bad. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
exactly,
And
exactly.
that kind of like, informed the songs that I did put out because I had something to test it against, if that makes sense.
Yes,
Like if I'm
yes,
working on 12
exactly.
songs, I'm like, okay, which of these are good? And then I see the crowd reaction, I see how it sounds on the speakers, and then I'm like, okay, not that one.
Yep. Yep. And it's like it takes a certain level of it's scary, but it takes a level of vulnerability to be like, let me play these tracks out that I'm maybe not so confident in
Hmm.
and see. And then you never know. Like, I've been working with my friend Austin, his DJ name's Cutlace. And I've been working with him and like I was showing him a couple of whips and one of the whips that I like wasn't as confident in. He was like, this fucks. Like this is good. And I was like, what? Like, that is the one I was least confident in. And it's like,
Yeah.
you never, because you get so kind of like blind to your own music,
Hmm.
you don't know what it sounds like from an outsider's perspective. So, yeah, playing those tracks out and seeing the crowd response and things like that helps a lot.
That producer blindness is so real,
Yeah.
especially when you're working on something constantly. You're like, is this too loud? Is this too quiet? Like,
Yeah,
where should this be? I struggled with that for so long, and I still do sometimes because like I put out music pretty consistently, but I'm
yeah,
still like I want to make each release better than the last one. You know what I mean? And like
exactly.
that varies, but like it's all subjective. But like as long as you're happy with what you're putting out at the end of the day and you're enjoying what you're doing, I think is like the best way to look at it. And like you said, just having fun with whatever it is you're doing, like
Yeah,
that makes it enjoyable. That's what it's all about.
exactly. Exactly.
For me, I started producing before I was DJing,
Okay.
and then once I started DJing, I kind of switched up my productions in a way that like worked better for DJing, if that makes
Mm-hmm.
sense.
Mm-hmm.
Do you feel a pressure since you've been DJing for so long and now you're starting to produce? Do you feel a pressure that you need to put music out to kind of level up the DJ career?
Absolutely.
Mm.
I do feel like there is a barrier to a limit to my success if I don't put music out. And I think that that's been a lot of the pressure I've been putting on myself. And that's just, just because like it's people want to hear what they're about to go see. So if,
Mm.
like I said, if I get put on a set with EPROM and Brothel and Sokka and they're like, "Oh, I don't know this person. Let me go look them up." It's like, "Oh, here's a SoundCloud mix from 3 years ago." Where it's like that's not even current and fresh to what I'm spinning and what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah, I do feel pressure of like I think that to level up in the ways that I want to, I do have to release music. But it doesn't have to be perfect. And that's where I'm struggling. It's like it just needs to be out. Like,
No, yeah.
yeah. And,
It's
and I
it's getting out there is what it's all
yeah,
about.
and I played the whip that I'm like 95% positive will be the first single that I drop.
Mm.
I played it out at Terminal West and I had like multiple people come up to me and go, "That was my favorite track of the entire set." Which,
Whoa.
it was such a good feeling because I still have work to be done on it. I still need to
Mm.
like mix it down a lot more and master it a good bit. But, just I think they also were like reading my energy and I was just so excited to have this was the first track where I felt like I'm capable of doing this. I can do
Mm-hmm.
this. And not only that, like I'm sure you've gotten to a point where you have so many whips where you start a song and you never go and finish it. And the first half of the song, you're like, this is so good. Why can't I finish this? I was able to like go back and fully finish it on a completely different day, which is if I don't immediately get an entire idea down, it's very hard for me to go back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was the first song where I went back and finished the song. And if anything, I think the second drop is better now. And I'm like, do I need to redo the first half of this song? And it's like, no, no, just let it breathe. Let it be. Um, and and yeah, it was exciting to see that response and that reaction to something that I've put a lot of time into. And it genuinely was when I let go of that need to be perfect. And I was like, I just want to have fun.
Mm-hmm.
This sound that I just made in Serum, it's fun. I don't, like it's not it doesn't have to sound exactly like Distinct Motive or Subtronics or whoever I'm trying, whatever reference track, because I always
Mm-hmm.
put a reference track to be like, oh, my drums need to be louder. Oh,
Smart.
I need more backing or whatever. I need
Mm-hmm.
more noise in the background. Like the things that you say, you don't realize it's
Mm-hmm.
empty until you take it out. Um, I don't ever want it, but I don't want it to be a replica.
Yeah.
So it's like, you start with the reference track and then it eventually becomes your own thing.
it's that line of like finding inspiration without copying it. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? It's like
Exactly.
getting the essence of that track, but making it your own. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? And
Yeah.
that's something you just learn with like time, I think. Just staying in Ableton and putting in the reps is like helps you get there faster.
Yes.
And it's funny you mentioned like um I've had moments where I'll work on so much music. I've gotten to the point where like instead of like testing that stuff out or like, sending it to somebody, I just delete it. Cuz I'm like
No.
I'm no no no. Well, it not because like I'll never put this out or whatever, but I'm like this song like is good, but I
Yeah.
I know like my bar for like what I can do now because I've been
Yeah.
doing it for so long that I'm like this is a good idea. I can probably take this melody and redo everything else, you know what I mean? And then like
Yeah.
it's a like night and day completely better track. And that's
Yeah.
one thing too that like I don't think people think about is like you might have so many ideas, you kind of have to shift through like which ones are the winners. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Especially if you
Yeah.
are working on a lot of stuff. Um, have you ever, so you mentioned like having self-doubt and like feeling burnt out. You had to take a step back
Yeah.
for a little while. How did you deal with that? How did you find motivation again after that break to like
Yeah.
keep going?
I mean, I think for a while it was just a clean cut. Like I
Mm,
literally, I was not booking any shows. I was not online at all. I was not, intaking any of that content. I wasn't watching DJ sets. I just needed like a full reset. And I did a lot of self-reflection of like I said, why am I doing this? Where did
mm-hmm.
this motivation start? And when did I lose that passion and that joy for it? And why?
Yeah.
And like I said, there were things going on in my personal life that I had to get sorted. And it really helped once I was like, okay, I have a job that I really like that provides benefits and provides health care because I was without health care for a year and a half and things like that. And centering myself and figuring out, my day-to-day issues that were outside of music. And then I was able to come to music with a much more fresh, more, rejuvenated mindset. And it
Mm-hmm.
was like taking care of everything else in my life actually motivated me to come back to music.
I love
And
that.
I think that a lot of people wouldn't think that that would be what helps them. They would be like, no,
Mm-hmm.
I need to dive more into it. I need to watch more sets. I need to, work on music more. And it's like, maybe you just need to go, like, I'm sitting in front of my bookshelf, but like, I read a lot of books last year, like, just, and not, listen, self-help books are great. Read fiction, escape the world for a little bit, like, read something where you're not, oh, that is what's wrong with me. Oh my God. You're like, no, I'm in a fantasy kingdom and and like I'm reading about an assassin and things like that where it like completely takes you away from
Mm-hmm.
your own mental headspace. And that's what helped me the most was just like going out and going to a Braves game or,
Nice.
reading a book or journaling or doing these things that had nothing to do with music. Like you have to fill your own cup.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized that I was trying to work with an empty cup. So once I refilled my own cup with everything else, with hobbies, with friendships and my relationship and my family and, getting my living space to a place where I want it, then it was so much easier to sit down and be like, okay, let's have fun again with this
Yeah.
music thing. I'm having fun with everything else in my life. I'm crafting, I'm crocheting, I'm doing all these things. It's like, let's take that mentality towards music.
I love that.
Yeah.
I definitely have dealt with burnout in the past, and like it's tough for me because I made DJing my full-time job years and
Yeah.
years ago. So
Yeah.
like it pays the bills, and like if I'm tired or like, on no sleep or like wanting to take a break, I really can't
Yeah.
because there's no day job there. Like it's
Yeah.
just you go in at night, you work, hotel, hotel, hotel. You're not in your own bed until
Yeah.
like, for 2 nights out of the week, whatever it is. So like it's rough. But
Yeah.
like I recently did a similar thing where like I kind of took a step back. I was still working obviously, but like I found out why I started doing it and like
Hmm.
what made it fun for me, and I kind of just focused on that, and I remembered like why it was fun and what I enjoy out of it, and it like that perspective shift and like seeing it differently helped a lot because I think like I was so locked in and I was so like I got to do this and this and this and these are the gigs for this weekend. So I have to get all new music. I have to produce these hours. I can't go hang out with friends. I can't like, do this. I got to be locked in. I got to be working and like there was
Yeah.
no time for me, you know? And
Yeah.
that's something that I learned recently where like you do have to like there's plenty of time. There's time for everything,
There is.
we're all on our own journeys and we all need to like have that time for ourselves to like fill our cups like you were saying is
Yeah.
so important.
Yeah.
So that's a really good message, I think. um Man, it's been a good talk.
Yeah.
It's
It
been good
has.
catching up.
Yeah.
um so okay, one last thing and then I'll let you
Yeah.
go. I don't want to take up too much of your time. What is if everything were to go right this year,
Yeah.
where do you see the Madison project? Where would you like to be in the future? What are your
Yeah.
goals now that you're going to start producing, dropping some music? I imagine you want to start playing bigger gigs, playing out your music at those gigs.
Yeah.
What's your plan?
I think, for myself within like, a 1 to 3 year goal
Mm,
is I would love to release music. And within like a 3 year frame, probably, like an EP or two. Um, and I would love to start playing at festivals. I would love like Okeechobee or like, the kind of like smaller homie fest,
hmm.
things like that. I love those kind of spaces more than the big like commercialized. I mean, don't get me wrong, everyone wants to play EDC Vegas, right? Like,
Yeah.
yes, would love to do that, but it's like there's just something so like infrasound or something,
Hmm.
those type of, like forest, things like that, where it's a little bit more like homey fest and, not so commercialized in your face.
Yep.
That's probably like my 1 to 3 year goal of like I would love to be on lineups like that and festivals like that. And then I think my like long term goals eventually is like I would love to throw my own events. I would
Nice.
love to create environments that are safe and comfortable for everyone. I think that, I've played at so many venues and played at so many shows and seen so many things that I have a really good sense of what works and what doesn't. And I know it takes a village, and I would have to find a team of people that I trust could, fully create my vision. But, a big thing would be I would love to put on small artists. I would love to mentor. I would love to do lessons. I would love to, like, the things that I'm receiving from the community, the support, the help, the love, like I want to give that back tenfold. And so that would be my like long-term goal.
I love that. I totally echo you on that. I
Yeah.
think like again, helping each other out is such a big part of this. And
Yeah.
like it's it means so much to the person that you're helping, but it's also fulfilling for you. You know what I mean? That's why I
Yeah.
love like mentoring people or even like doing stuff like this because like besides just catching up, like we're able to get your story out and like, a bit of a platform, nothing crazy for, on
Yeah.
my end, but like
Yeah.
it's still something, you know what I mean? And it's just like
Exactly.
it's about helping each other. And on that note of like festivals, I've done both, like the commercial ones and the like the more homey ones. There
Yeah.
totally is a different like vibe when you walk
Yeah.
in. It's so like I'm not gonna name any names,
Yeah.
but like there's certain ones where you're like, oh, this is like there's a big company behind this, and you feel that when you walk in
Yeah.
versus like, going to something in the woods that's like put on by like a more local promoter that like
Yeah.
took time out of their day to do like this weekend thing and like set
Exactly.
everything up. Like
Yeah.
it makes a difference, man. But
It
like
does.
I don't know. I think it's all good, it's just doing things for the right reasons and building up community and helping each other out, I think is a great message, that we've kind of has been like the through line here this whole
Yeah.
conversation, which I think
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah.
um I'm excited for you, man. I can't wait to see what you get up to and like where you go from here. I know I've
Yeah.
known you for a few years and I've kind of seen the progression already, but I feel like you're going to do some really great stuff. So I'm really
Well, thank
excited.
you.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to be asking you for help with social media stuff because
Whatever
I,
you need. Whatever you need.
yeah,
I got you.
like I mentor a few people and I'm like, hey, actually help me a little bit, actually, because my Instagram could use some help. So
Whatever you
yeah,
need. I'm here for you.
we'll be in touch. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure. Um,
perfect.
awesome. Well, Madison, I really appreciate you. Thank you again.
Yeah.
Where can people find you? Where can they see your stuff online?
So my Instagram is MADiSUN_ATL. That is mainly where I streamline everything. I do have a SoundCloud, but again, it has not been updated in a long time. But that is where I will be releasing my music. And yeah, so pretty cut and dry, pretty basic. I'm not a lot of places right now, so
Perfect.
maybe
Awesome.
one day
Thank
we'll
you
jump back
again.
on TikTok. So
I
maybe,
deleted my TikTok recently, so I totally feel you on that.
yeah.
I needed a break. Too much scrolling.
Let's just wait for the next big social media and we'll pioneer. We'll start with there.
There you go. There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it and I appreciate your time. I'll talk to
Of
you
course.
soon.
Yeah. Thank you.